I'm Anna Garcia, right now on True Crime News. A celebrity hairstylist with clients like Jennifer Lopez and Russell Crowe stabbed to death in his backyard.
Oh, I was sick to my stomach. How could someone do that to someone?
His wife watches it all unfold from security cameras connected to her phone. Then, salacious secrets come out. Was there an affair? And the shocking twist in the $1.6 million plot to kill Fabio Sementilli. Plus, two young sisters, just 6 and 7 years old, come home to horror. Their mother murdered, covered in blood.
It was brutal. She fought probably till she couldn't any longer.
Now, as adults, they are searching for answers and fighting for justice for their mom. Hi everyone, welcome to True Crime News. Fabio Sementilli was a beloved hairstylist to the Hollywood A-list when his teenage daughter found him stabbed to death in the backyard of their Los Angeles home. It looked like a robbery gone wrong, but the investigation would prove something much more sinister was at play.
Right at the end, just sprayed onto the hair.
To those who knew and loved him, this is what they remember.
Hey everybody, Fab here for Fab Style Fridays.
A larger-than-life personality with a celebrity clientele, including Jennifer Lopez and Jennifer Love Hewitt.
He was the guy. We called him Papa Bear.
Those who worked with him describe him as a positive mentor, a loving father of 3, and devoted husband to his wife, Monica.
Fabio was a family man. He was so proud of his daughters. He was proud of his wife. He loved family first. He loved his wife.
But in January of 2017, Fabio was found stabbed to death in the patio of his suburban LA home, leaving Monica Sementilli, who was by his side for nearly 20 years, devastated.
I saw her at the viewing, and she was wailing and being very sad. Oh, my husband, my husband.
We got back in the car and said, oh my gosh, I mean, how frail and how weak and how she needed to be held up.
But investigators would soon learn that what was first suspected to be part of a recent string of burglaries in the neighborhood was something much more sinister.
It's no surprise that then police at first suspected this to be a part of that, and maybe one of these robberies gone bad where the homeowner happened upon the individuals as they were breaking in, and it turned into a really bloody and brutal mess.
Legal analyst Josh Ritter says once police started looking inside this home, they realized things were not adding up.
One of the things that tipped them off that there might be something more at play here was the idea that a very expensive wristwatch was still left on the victim.
Surveillance video was also taken from the scene, as well as Fabio's Porsche, and there was plenty of blood evidence at the crime scene that would lead police to this man, racquetball instructor Robert Baker, who investigators say hired Christopher Austin to help him kill Fabio Sementilli.
Oh, I was sick to my stomach. I mean, first of all, I didn't believe it. Second of all, how could someone do that to someone who is an amazing person?
Christopher Austin pleaded not guilty, but according to these police documents, he says he was flown to Los Angeles by Robert Baker, saying that the two men entered the Sementilli residence with clothing that concealed their identity and attacked Fabio with a knife. Austin admitting to stabbing him in the neck and holding him down while Robert Baker stabbed him. But why would these two men want Fabio dead?
Statistics about how these things usually work is that it's someone close to that individual is usually the person who is responsible for their murder.
Investigators would soon learn that Robert was Monica Sementilli's racquetball instructor.
There was a lot of communication going on between the two, far more than you would expect between somebody and their racquetball instructor.
And they determined that Monica and Robert were having an affair.
And I can't wait to get home to see my family.
Now, Christopher Austin tells police of a possible motive: Fabio's $1.6 million life insurance policy.
You take a look at his wife and you realize that she has a lot to gain. Then you find out that she's had an ongoing affair with Mr. Baker, and the pieces begin to fall together.
After a months-long investigation, Robert and Monica were charged with the murder of Fabio Sementilli. And in these charging documents, prosecutors allege Monica and the gym trainer planned to live together after Fabio was dead. They communicated via cell phone about their plan to kill Fabio, and they live-streamed home security surveillance from the home.
The natural conclusion being that she was making sure that the quote-unquote coast was clear for them to go ahead and break inside of the home and commit the murder.
Prosecutors also allege that inside her home after Fabio's funeral, Robert and Monica went into the master bedroom to discuss and arrange their continuing fabricated stories for law enforcement. Robert Baker pleaded no contest to murder and conspiracy charges, but would not say that Monica was involved in her husband's murder. But prosecutors hope Christopher Austin's arrest will help as they turn their focus to Monica, seen here at a pre-trial hearing wearing a blue prison uniform, a far cry from the life she once had with Fabio.
We don't know what Mr. Austin is going to have to say. It sounds like he was hired in this situation. He really did not have any connection. He may have benefited from receiving a payment for taking part in this crime.
Everything's all right. Peace.
We'll be following this case closely and bring you updates here and on truecrimenews.com. When we come back, they found their mother murdered. Now they're determined to find her killer.
She fought probably till she couldn't any longer.
That's next. Mary Morgan Pewitt's daughters were just 6 and 7 years old when they found her stabbed to death in their home. It is a tragic murder that has never been solved. Mary's daughters, Amber and Kyra, now adults, are determined to find answers and close this cold case, and they need your help.
She was magnetic. She just had a way of kind of pulling people in, and she just had charm about her that you instantly felt like you knew who she was.
Kyra Allen Lowe was just 7 years old when she and her sister witnessed something no child should ever see.
Blood. She fought probably till she couldn't any longer.
Her mother, Mary Morgan Pewitt, had worked the night shift at the only bar in tiny Comanche, Oklahoma, while her daughters spent the night at their grandparents'. The next morning, when Grandma brought them home, something was off.
My sister and I went to the front door. It was locked, and so we came around the house and climbed up on the planter in front of the house.
And she proceeds to knock on the window, and my mom is laying diagonal across her bed, partially covered.
When she was interviewed at the time, Mary's mother, Elizabeth, recalled the words her granddaughter told her.
She said, "I can't wake my mama, and she's full of blood, all covered in blood."
Over 25 stab wounds to the upper torso, neck, chest. It was brutal.
She was in her night clothes and she was in her bedroom, but there was no evidence of any type of sexual assault or any of those types of things.
Investigators collected fingerprint and DNA evidence, but testing technology was still in the embryonic stages, leaving a real mystery in the tiny Oklahoma town. Who killed Mary Morgan Pewitt? In the wake of Mary's death, her grief-stricken grandfather, David Morgan, became a citizen investigator.
He was thorough and strong and determined to find out what happened to my mom. So determined, he retired early from Halliburton. He went back to college and received his criminal justice degree.
As he researched Mary's murder, he wrote down his questions and suspicions like, who had a key? Kyra shared his notes for the first time with True Crime News.
That he mentions that he's not sure that my mom drove her car because there was ruts in the driveway and her car wasn't parked in the ruts. He just said, Mary is a creature of habit. She always parks the same way.
Other clues David Morgan noticed. The outside light was off. It was always on if she was home. If she let someone in, she trusted them, and the .38 was still in the case. At the time, Kyra, who was just a young girl, had no idea what her grandfather was consumed with.
We pretty much were told to forget everything that we'd ever known.
But when she became a teenager, she also yearned for the truth and started sniffing out clues, taking on the case with a similar fervor.
It was not having the answers that drove the curiosity more. So at 16, I ordered her autopsy report.
Then her investigator grandfather passed away. But Kyra would soon become as strong and determined as he had been, picking up where he left off. Digging, talking to witnesses, and sharing intel, she quickly turned to social media in hopes of picking up new leads.
I've spoken to some of the people that have been mentioned as possible persons of interest.
Before long, she had heard from Mary's boyfriend at the time of the murder, and he had his own theories.
Mary had been unlucky in love. She was 25 years old, and she was on her third marriage. Some of her relationships in the past had been allegedly abusive and those types of things.
Police immediately looked into all three of Mary's former husbands. Her first was Kyra's father, who she married at 16.
His name is Ricky Tidwell. They were married less than a year. My understanding is that he was out of town on business the night that she was murdered.
Husband number 2 was father to Kyra's sister. Kyra claims that he and Mary had a volatile relationship, and divorce documents show Mary had a restraining order against him. Kyra claims he didn't talk to detectives.
Tim Allen has never spoken to the police, so I am unsure what his alibi or where he was that evening.
Tim Allen's attorney just told True Crime News that Allen is aware someone in the family is pushing for this case to be solved, but he did not name anyone specifically. Then there's Mary's third husband, with whom she was on the verge of a breakup.
Stan Pewitt was incarcerated the night that my mother was murdered. Very much has a solid alibi and has recently passed away.
Police never charged any of Mary's husbands in connection with her murder, or anyone else for that matter. But they did question a host of admirers, jealous girlfriends, bar patrons, and local criminals.
There have been several suspects that different people have pointed to. So it really has been one big giant puzzle for law enforcement to try to solve, and they have yet to do that.
Kyra will never forget the toll Mary's brutal murder took on her grandparents, particularly her loving grandfather, David Morgan, who she wasn't able to see much after both girls went to live with Mary's second husband.
We're so used to seeing us at least once or twice a week. Sorry. No, it just changed him for sure, and just his state of mind changed in what he needed.
What David Morgan needed was to figure out who left his granddaughters without a mother.
Anyone's capable of murder. Anybody in this town's capable of murder.
Coming up, Kyra gets a tip from the last known person to see her mom alive.
I still think it might have been the babysitter.
But can he be trusted? Next. We're back with the unsolved murder of Mary Morgan Pewitt, her lifeless body discovered by her young daughters, but they have never given up searching for answers.
Following in her grandfather's footsteps, Kyra Allen is now on a desperate mission to solve her mother's murder.
I think that whoever it was, she let in that house. She wouldn't have opened the door for somebody she didn't know.
Hoping to generate more leads, the family created a Facebook page in Mary Pewitt's name, and Kyra soon hears directly from a man named Randy Benson, who had been dating Mary at the time of the murder. Benson calls Kyra through Facebook and immediately drops his own theory.
I still think it might have been the babysitter.
Randy Benson was my mom's last relationship. They'd been dating roughly 3 months. He states that he met her that evening at the house and they watched a movie.
And Randy doesn't deny he was with Mary that night, but claims she was alive when he left her house. And he seemed very eager to keep talking.
He had kept calling in the middle of the night. I spoke to the local DA investigator at the time, and he said, just, if you do take that call, record it. I think everybody was kind of curious why he was just calling repeatedly.
During one 20-minute conversation, Randy talked more about this young babysitter who he claimed gave him weird vibes.
Was the babysitter an older person or like a teenager? Or?
She was a little older than me, and she was sitting there talking to me and Mary one night, and I forgot what she said, but whatever it was scared me, and nothing scares me. And I thought, this chick's not right.
But Kyra has her own suspicions about the sitter theory and Randy's claims.
Anytime that my mom needed a babysitter, she had two parents that we were at a lot. And if it wasn't them, it was normally a high school kid. But I don't see some high school babysitter getting so upset to do this.
Strangely, one of her grandfather's handwritten notes questioned where Randy went after he supposedly left Mary's. In the phone call with Kyra, Randy reiterated what he'd always said about his whereabouts after he left.
God, I keep thinking I should have stayed, but my son promised me to be here at midnight, and I promised him I would, and I left Mary's at 11:50 and sped home and got home at exactly midnight.
He mentions that he wasn't there very long because he had a predetermined date with his son to play video games in the middle of the night. Just bizarre.
At the time, Randy Benson was interviewed by police but was never charged. Now, it's too late to get any new answers from Benson. He passed away.
My sister and I are grown adults. We have waited all of our life. We are ready to know what happened to our mom. We need to know.
After 36 years, Mary's death remains shrouded in mystery. No one has ever been charged, and the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation will not publicly name anyone as a person of interest or suspect. Still, Kyra is committed to continuing her grandfather's work, doing whatever it takes to learn the truth.
To the people that I think are responsible, I think that you know what you took from us, and we're going to continue to keep looking.
Investigators believe Mary Morgan Pewitt had connections in Georgetown, Oklahoma, and Royce City in Texas. They're asking anyone with information to call the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation at 1-800-522-8017, or you can contact our tip line at 888-845-7555.
On the next True Crime News, single mom found dead hanging from a mailbox by her shoelaces.
The mail lady found her. She freaked out and she called to get help.
Investigators say she took her own life. Her family says no way.
She loved her babies. She would not.
Was it all staged?
This is not a suicide by hanging. She was placed here.
And who would want her dead?
We're not going to stop till we find out who you are.
On the next True Crime News. For the latest breaking crime news, go to truecrimenews.com. Watch more exclusive content on our YouTube channel, listen to our podcast, and follow us at My True Crime News. That's it for today's True Crime News. I'm Anna Garcia. See you next time, everyone. Crime doesn't stop, neither do we.